Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 35. Your mind is delaying your up level. I'm actually doubling up this time and live streaming this on YouTube on June 26, 2019. Then I'm going to filter the sound as best I can and get you a podcast next week. So this week's podcast was released early. And it is, I remember when we chose peace, and it's a 15 or so minute riff with using Kylego, a technique from Kyle C's, which you can go to the YouTube search bar and put in Kylego and find a cool video on it. And that's a good morning live. And so if live recordings bother you, you might want to skip this podcast for today because it's a little bit freewheeling. So what do I have coming up? Let's get the business out of the way. I have Welcoming the Crone for women over 35. It's a class on self-portraiture, and it's not just taking selfies. Like, we're going to be creating portraits with lighting and composition and dealing with the stories that come up around ageisms and stuff like that. That starts July 11th. This is all on the website. And Sovereign Storytellers is open for enrollment, and announcement, this is the last time I'll be running that course. That's a 16-week intensive course. It works really well in the fall. We start in August. That's open for enrollment, also on the website. And then the other cool thing that I'm doing lately is and it will be in Sovereign Storytellers this time, is a tour through the 9 chakras of the body rather than the 7, and using our human design charts. So it's going to be a little bit different. Still just as intense, because that's the way that is human design coaching. At the bottom is a really inexpensive 4-week class on using your human design chart with your business. Going through your chart, type, strategy, authority, and how to apply that in very practical ways to your business. And I'll just tell you, there's lots of things moving and shaking for the women who just finished that class. Okay, enough with the business updates. What I want to talk to you about today is when we are up leveling, as a lot of us are, and a lot of people are going through some pretty intense energies at the moment, according to those people who track those things. And I would agree with that. And I was wondering, like, I have had a little bit of roughness with that. And I'll say last Thursday was pretty bad, like one of the baddest days I've had in a while. And Friday was also bad. And I was aware of it. A couple of days there, I was aware that it was my familiar bad feeling overlay the layer of defeatism that is something I deal with. And it was so clear that it wasn't me, that it was just whatever those things are constructed of. Like, we can talk about that a different day, or you can leave me a question in the comments. Please like and subscribe and share, of course. Good morning, Betty. Nice to see you. So, but I moved through it really fast, and I feel great. And Monday was an amazing day. Yesterday was a double, triple amazing day. Really incredible. And I was asking myself, talking to my mom last night, like, what? I wonder why it's moving through easier. I wonder why some people are really struggling. Like, why does that happen? Right? That's always questions I'm asking. Why is it so hard in the beginning for us to up level, for us to go? Not that there's truly up or down, but understanding that it's more than that. Why is it so hard to up level? Why is it such a struggle to go from one kind of behavior to another? And excuse my sniffling, I've got some allergies going on. I also ate some cheese yesterday, which is never a good idea. So we've heard that when you're moving with new energies, when you tell yourself a story, when you're talking to yourself, Your brain is lit up with electrical activity. This can be easily proven with any MRI. When you think, electricity happens in your brain, and it can be measured and it can be seen. So we know that that happens. When we're thinking, thoughts creates the electrical activity. The electrical activity produces a bunch of chemicals. Those chemicals course through our body and give us a sensation, which we emotion. And we slap labels on it and make some of them good and some of them bad and struggle with them. So I've thought that maybe upleveling is difficult because our nerve endings have to change and our body has to adapt. And maybe it's that. It's this back and forth process of trying to get comfortable with this nervous system that we have. And then last night I was like, it's not the body that's having to adapt. It's the mind that's bogging down that process. And that, of course, it's like, well, duh, you just said we're telling ourselves a bunch of stories that produce a bunch of chemicals. But for some reason, it was like, why are we even focusing on trying to adapt or trying so hard to get somewhere else? Where if we would put our focus on, it's our mind that's bogging down the change from one place to another. You've always been poor, you decide you want to be wealthy, you work your stories, it should change. But it doesn't. Because when you start working your stories and you start moving into wealth and you're not used to it, right? Your mind is producing different chemicals and your body's not used to it. And that's where I think we need to shift our focus. It's not our bodies that aren't used to it. It's our minds that aren't used to it. Our minds are programmed, built, designed to detect minuscule changes in our environment. The tiniest, teeniest, weeniest little change, we've survived for all this time because we notice differences. We notice they're different and we, our attention goes there and we try to figure out, is it friend or foe? I used to have 2 corgis, and if a trash bag blew in the backyard or if anything at all was different when I let them out in the backyard in the morning, they would freak out and go running to the intruder plastic bag and bark and bark and bark at it and creep up on it and finally see that it was nothing and go on about their business. So in that same vein, you're thinking poverty and lack thoughts for years and years, maybe your whole life, which produces a certain kind of chemical that your mind is familiar with. It knows what that feels like. It doesn't even notice anything different until you really are commanding or working your human design or doing affirmations or whatever works for you, hanging out with wealthy people to start to produce a different chemical mix that's a magnetic match to wealth, different chemicals. It's your mind that's like, wait a minute, hold on, something's different. Something doesn't feel right. Something feels like ants in my pants. Something's making me feel all agitated. What's different? What's wrong? And it goes running right back to the poverty and lack, not because it's sabotaging you, but because that's the familiar piece. So there's multiple different ways of looking at this. But I was thinking, it's really, the body doesn't need time to adapt. It doesn't need time to work up to the feeling of wealth. It's your mind that needs the time. Because your mind has to figure out that the new feelings of wealth, are they friend or foe? It has to experience them often enough, long enough to decide that, okay, that's just a plastic bag in the backyard. It's not something that we need to be freaking out about. It's actually fine. And then you start to see this snowball effect in your outer reality of things changing. In the beginning of this year, I decided 2019 is the year I master money, and I narrowed my world down to nothing but that. That's been my sole focus. I read something every day. I work with it every day. I'm in Created Life Academy, which is an intense coaching program. I have a coach from that group that I meet with monthly. I'm on every possible thing that I can get on. My house looks like a serial killer lives here, except a serial killer that likes to be positive. My refrigerator, I took a dry erase markers to my refrigerator and covered it with prompts and questions and reminders. I have a huge whiteboard in my room that's covered with prompts and reminders. I have a shelf over my bed, and underneath is covered. The mirror has stuff on it. My walls have stuff on it. Like I was like, I'm going to get it or I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't want to live like this. I don't want a life that's constant penny by penny and always drowning. And, I don't want that. That's terrible. It's not fun. So I was like, this year I'm going to dive in. So I ran across human design, and that shifted everything. I ran across a program that Corey Michelle offers. You can just look her up on Facebook, or you can go to meetcoreymichelle.com. There's another website that I'm forgetting. I'm working with Sandy. I'm working with Janelle. Like, I'm doing all this work. And feeling the difference in those sensations has been pretty alarming. And it's followed by a lot of despair. Like, why is this so hard? Blah, 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 blah. Why isn't my body catching up? Why isn't my body catching up to speed? But the more you study human design, the more it becomes internalized that it's really the body that's supposed to be in charge here on this planet, in this reality. It's not supposed to be your mind. Your mind is bogging down. Your mind is delaying whatever upleveling experience you're trying to have right now. Whatever of these disruptive energies that's breaking everything apart, your transition from broken apart to back together in the new normal is being bogged down by your mind's awareness that something's different. So when we know and really spend time thinking about and contemplating, like, it really is just our thoughts. Our thoughts are detecting a difference in the system. Our thoughts are screaming, there's a glitch in the matrix. Did you have deja vu? There's a glitch in the matrix. Did you just see a black cat twice? There's a glitch. There's a glitch. And your mind is just up in arms about it. Well, if we know that and accept that and treat that as the scared alarm, the alarms, the house alarms going off, the way to just calm that is to stay aware. Of course, I'm going to recommend a daily practice of silent meditation here, because that is what increases your awareness. But if you're aware of it and you catch it and you're daily checking in with your mind and saying, hey, it's okay, we're just switching. We're just going from one train track to another. We're just going from poverty land to overflowing more than enough land. And there's different chemicals, and the body's responding differently to the different chemicals, and that's what you're feeling. You're feeling the difference in your muscles and your bones and your nervous system. That's okay. Just stay with it. That's going to pass, and it's going to be fine. And the next thing you know, things are breaking loose for you. When you ask the universe for a plane ticket, you don't say a plane ticket, you say a first class plane ticket, and that feels totally right and totally normal. And then for me, a couple of days later, you get it. And then the next day, I'm tracking a flight to Paris for my birthday. No idea how to get it. It's a goal I set in my last coaching session. She asked me, what's my heart's desire goal? And I was like, I really want to go to Paris for my birthday. I started crying because I was like, what kind of person goes to Paris every year? Oh, greedy. What kind of bitch is the word that came to mind? Like, what kind of bitchy person runs off runs off to Paris when there's all these other things that need to be taken care of? So I was working through those stories, and here's how I create trips. I go to Google, I pick the dates I want, pick the flight I want, and I set the flight tracker, and it sends you a notice because airplane tickets fluctuate all the time. So yesterday I got the notice that the trip to Paris, and then I go to Airbnb and I put pictures of Paris everywhere. I surround myself. And then yesterday I got the notice that the flight tracker price had changed. I opened it up and it was $513. If you think you can't travel overseas, I want you to message me because I used to think that too. And this will be my third trip in 2 years. Twice last year and now this year. You absolutely can travel cheap, just as cheap overseas as you do internationally. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So the price dropped, and then I was like, oh, 513, that's the cattle car area, and you have to board last, so you know you're going to be in the middle seat. I was like, how much more is it for the next level up? It was $120. Trip insurance, all that. It came to close to $700. And which I don't have. I don't have $700 laying around. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to ask my daughter, I'm going to ask my mom if they can cover it for me and give me a couple of months and I'll get it back to them. Also, not sure how I was going to do that because my money's inconsistent. So, and I couldn't get a hold of either one of them, which is rare. Like, I can almost always get a hold, especially if I call. Like, everyone knows I don't use the telephone. So if I'm calling, someone's died, someone's bleeding to death, something terrible has happened, or I really got to talk to you. So I called both of them twice, couldn't get a hold of them. So then I was sitting at my computer, all my flight information in there, picked my seats, and feeling this flood of old chemicals, and very aware of it. Like it was muffled almost. So what would have in the past been a nail-biting experience, I would have been sitting there at the computer just freaked out. What if I miss it? What if the price doesn't drop again? What if they don't have it and I miss it? What if it, we run out of time? And I could hear that stuff like way off in the distance. And I could feel how my body wanted to like lean even in forward into the computer and really get tensed up. And I could feel the difference in my muscles and my nerves and my stomach. So as I was like going into the tension, I was like, no, wait a minute. We do ease around here. Ease is my cortisol feeling. That's what we do. We do ease. What would it take to have ease in this process? While I'm sitting here waiting, what would it take to let go and let my body lead the way? Let my body just sit here and rest and, click on the buttons to keep the screen active until somebody calls me back. What would that take? And so I just sat back and I just relaxed, and I could still hear all that other stuff going on. I could still hear my mind alarm bells going off. Okay, so it didn't go away, but it was way off in the distance. I hope that makes sense to you. And every time I felt the tension, I would make myself sit back. I was sitting right here where I am now. This is my coffee table office space in the living room. So my mom called me back. We got it figured out. The thing it kept glitching and glitching and glitching. And so I had to change browsers and do it again. And it finally worked. And I was calm the whole time because I went with my body. My body knew it was going to be okay. My body was calm. So when my mind was freaking the fuck out, I kept checking back with my body. Now, wait a minute. My body's calm about this. So either it's not going to work and that's okay, because I sure don't want to force it and get on a plane that's going to, be delayed or be a horrible experience or, you know, just not, just be bad all around. So I'm willing to trust that timing thing. But I could feel in that moment what I really want you to hear is that it's just your mind. Your mind is just thinking those thoughts, which makes your body tense, which slows everything down if it doesn't bring it to a stop altogether. We know it's not our body that needs time to grow new nerves. Well, it does, but that's not what slows us down. It's not the body doing the adaptations that the body does. That's not what's slowing us down. It's our mind noticing the difference. We know this because multiple incidents of parents or even just bystanders, moving cars off of people, lifting iron beams off people in fires, in collapsed buildings where people don't think their body moves into action and they do these incredible things that physically they shouldn't be capable of doing and they should have injury from. You're not a weightlifter and you go lift a car off somebody, you'd think you'd be a little sore. But that's not what happens. Your body just does it, which to me says it doesn't need adaptation time that's limiting. Our mind needs the time, and in the time gap, we have to coach ourselves. That's where our personal responsibility comes. We have to coach ourselves through it. That's our job. That's nothing anybody else can do for you. You can't take a pill for it. You can read a lot of books about it. You can listen to people like me about it, but we can't do it for you. When you're in your house and you look at your bank and you feel your mind react and then your body react, and there is a gap of time there. When you feel all that, we can't step inside your head and remind you, hey, this is that thing. And right now, you need to be telling yourself something different. Right now, you need to grab your mind, which is trying to push you off the cliff, and pull it back. That's your job as a grown up. You're grown up to your inner children. That's your responsibility. So, taking multiple courses and staying in therapy for decades won't ever help you if you don't ever get determined and committed enough to feel that discomfort, be aware of where it's coming from and what's happening, and coach your own self through it. So, it doesn't last long. It doesn't go on and on forever. It comes in waves. You might have to coach yourself several times a day if you're changing a big, deep, lifelong pattern like, a lifetime and a lineage of pretty severe poverty. So then you can ask yourself, what's it going to take for me to commit to the process? What's it going to take for me to commit to putting systems in place and use them when I'm spiraling? That's what I would do in the past is this was a while ago because I've been catching myself for a while, but I would feel myself spiraling and I would know it was happening and I would indulge it. I would vent to somebody about it. I would journal about it. I would blog about it. I would keep the vibration active in my system by talking about it. I'm not talking about when you need to really go to therapy to process something significant. I'm talking about your everyday, I don't want to be poor anymore kind of process. I want wealth in my world kind of process. I want to enjoy the things that this world has to offer, that for this world requires some ka-ching-ching money. It's just the way it works. So when my mind is kicking up stories like, how dare you go to Paris? I can say, oh, yeah, I know. And we're still going to go and it's going to be awesome. and the feelings that creates and the sensations in my body, I just take a big deep breath. I go, yeah, this is part of the process. This is just how it goes. If we had been trained on that from the beginning, if we'd been trained that at every stage of life, when you want something different or you evaluate your life and you decide you want to change, here's what it's going to look like. And we had, coaches when we were kids that could tell us, hey, that discomfort and the anxiety, that's all normal. Just keep going. Just, keep your systems in place, whatever you're doing. Now we have to pay coaches as adults to, to do that for us, but we still have to do the work. So what's it going to take? What will it take for you to catch your mind and take care of it? Not reject it, not yell back at it, not get into arguments with it, but to tend its needs. It has a need for safety. It's required of you, the other part of you, the larger part of you, to be responsible enough to take care of that need and to not indulge it when you catch yourself wanting to call 5 people and blah, blah out your story of offense for the day. Or for me, it was usually something, happened that would make me feel like a victim. And, I would spiral downward from there. We need to end this a lot of us have a chronic habit of, give me another book, let me take another course, let me go to a different therapist, let me try another modality, let me listen to 1,700 more podcasts. All the while, it's our mind just very subtly delaying the discomfort of taking charge and doing what you need to do to make it different. And that's not meant to sound harsh or critical. It just is what it is. It won't change until you grab yourself. It won't change outwardly until you're responsible enough inwardly to say, yeah, we don't allow that anymore. Thursday, when terrible things happened, it was that split reality again of, I did go lay down because it physically was just so difficult. And I did remind myself, surrender to this moment. Give up. You can't fix it. You can't change it in this moment. You can only pay attention to what you're radiating right now so that 2 or 3 months down the road, your life is different. Because if I don't start pumping out difference today, my tomorrow is not going to be any different. Neither is next week. And a year from now, I'll still be doing podcasts and stuff about how I'm working with money and don't have any money and struggling financially. That's hard for us, and that's another place we have to take responsibility and commit. It's going to take some discipline. It's going to take you not allowing your familiar bad feeling to be the show, to be the star of the day. So I'll leave you with some questions you can ask yourself. What's it going to take for me to commit to my life being different? What would it take for me to trust the process? What systems do I need to put in place to remember that this is just the way change goes? You decide you want to change, your brain has to change, your body reacts, your brain has to get comfortable with that. It's going to get intense, and then you're going to tip over the edge, and things are going to get easier and easier until you decide you want to change again. Or something changes in your life, like a major life event, and you have to go through a change process. What will it take for you to stop yourself when you want to grind your old stories? When you want to look at the world and feel like it's attacking you? when you want to look at the world and feel that everything is unfair and terrible? What will it take for you to love yourself so much that you no longer allow the mind to think thoughts that produce the chemicals of misery and pump out stress hormones and damage your body? What will it take? Some of the questions I'm asking on a daily basis is, how many ways can I receive money today? How many ways can I adapt faster? How many more ways can I relax into the unfamiliar? What's available for me now? What's trying to happen here now? How much more can I surrender? What is my mind up to? And am I physically tense? And why? And how can I relax some more? How can I remember to breathe? So the typical stuff, Postit notes, cell phone alarms, but deeper than that, because none of those work if you're not committed to actually doing what your cell phone alarm says. It doesn't work if you say, well, yeah, but let me just wallow in the shit this one time. This one time becomes this 10 years and you're still doing it. You, meaning the global you, not anybody personally, but us, we still do it. Okay. So think about that. If the mind is the one bogging down the upleveling, then the only thing you need to do is remind your mind to get in the back seat and let the body take the lead. It sounds really simple when I say it out loud, but we know it's a process. But the commitment to that process makes it a lot faster. The minute you decide to change, set yourself some reminders, you feel the process starting and you stop it and you go do something different, the very first time you do that, the next time is a little bit easier. You do it again, the next time is a little bit easier. And by a little bit, I might mean like a micro bit. But over time, you will be more comfortable with the energy that's created of imagining yourself comfortable and wealthy, or healthy, or in love, whatever it is you're after. You'll be more comfortable with that than your old yucky place. And I think that's why my theory is Thursday and Friday were so intense, because I had been out of that victim thinking mode for long enough that when it circled back around, it felt like getting hit by a freight train, because that's not where I hang out anymore. Something bad happens, I don't write about it anymore. I look at my stories about it and I choose what I'm going to do instead. I don't journal in the same way. I only journal inspirations or ideas for podcasts, and I have my future writing journal where every day I write and feel and activate in my system something that I want. 4 or 5 times a week, I'm writing that I'm in my favorite place in Paris, or I'm hanging out outside the museum, and here's what I'm seeing, and here's what I'm doing. It's a typical journal entry, but written in the future, as if it's happening right now. That means at least several times a day, I'm bathing my system in what I want instead of wallowing in what I have. So hopefully it's a little bit helpful. So just notice and write yourself a note. Here's another thing I used to do when I was really in the beginning of shifting. So I would go forward in my calendar and leave myself a note like I was a time traveler. I would think, well, in 3 months, I may forget what I know today. So let me go leave myself a Post-it note in my calendar, in my day timer. Hey, remember, blah, 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 blah. Hey, remember, got to keep catching yourself. So I'd leave notes for myself, because we know we forget. So that's another technique you can use. Go forward in your calendar and leave yourself a note to remind you to get back on track, to remind you that this is normal. It's just normal. Coach yourself through it and keep going. Trust the process. I know everyone hates to hear that one, but it's true. The more you're adding to your moment today, that's going to change your tomorrow. But you have to actually do it. We all like to nod and say, "Oh yeah, we've heard that 1,000 times," because we have. We have heard it 1,000 times. I know I've said it at least 10 million times, but it's only been this year that I'll say last year. Started last year. Good morning, Heather. Of really holding myself accountable and really not allowing any kind of wallowing, not allowing any kind of shamey storytelling. When I hear the stories, I catch them and I correct them. I don't allow the wallowing. That's really the hardest part, right? Because it feels good, right? Feeling terrible feels great when that's what we're used to. When you're an overeater, it feels good to go get what you're going to overeat on and then check out and get high on cookies or whatever it is. It feels good. It feels good to be bad, to be terrible, to feel terrible. But if you want something different, just tell yourself the truth, okay? Let's just do that. Just be honest. If you're not catching yourself and you're allowing yourself to feel terrible, just be honest about it. Just by being honest with yourself, a lot of times you can break that cycle, because then you're just like, oh my God, you're just being ridiculous. Put those cookies down and go take a nap, go take a shower, go take a walk. Just be honest. Just stay aware. Really, if you want to boil everything down, it's just awareness. If you're aware of what you're doing, you can make a choice. If you're asleep at the wheel, how can you decide? You don't even know what's going on. Then you're a little more awake at the wheel, but you still decide to drive down off on the wrong highway. That doesn't get you to what you want. That actually takes you further away from what you want. But you're kind of like, yeah, but I want to feel bad today. Yeah, but I want to eat till my stomach hurts. Yeah, I know I should have turned left instead of right, but they really hurt my feelings, or that really pissed me off, or it shouldn't be, or it should be. So I'm just going to keep driving further away from what I want. And then a month later, you're like, this manifestation stuff is shit. It doesn't work. You're like, no, it doesn't work, because you keep turning right when you're supposed to turn left. You keep falling asleep at the wheel and ending up off in the cow pasture. Yeah, it doesn't work when you don't actually do it. So just be honest. If the more honest you are with yourself, then the shame stops. When we first start getting honest, we're like, okay, I'm going to make a bowl of popcorn big enough to feed a football team, and I'm going to eat the whole thing myself. And I'm going to be honest with myself about it, and I'm going to stay aware to how it feels and everything that's going on. 90% of the time, you're not going to eat that popcorn. You're not going to engage in the addictive behavior when you're telling yourself the truth. Because then you can start to have compassion, and you can start to apply compassion consistently. You can drop down into your body and be aware of what that unconscious eating does, or smoking, or, watching 12 hours of Netflix, or whatever you do. You break the power struggle when you are honest. When you say, I'm indulging in a familiar bad feeling that is taking me further and further away from what I say I want. And just stop right there. Don't even go any further. Because then you can start a loop of going, well, why do I want what I want anyway? And, well, I'll never have it anyway, so why even bother? And yet, blah, blah, blah. When you hear that stuff kick up, you just say, those are stories, and I'm not going to engage with those. Screaming toddler example that Brooke Castillo gives in some books of hers I've been reading. is, when you give in to a toddler screaming at the grocery store, you're fucked. You just taught a tyrant that it can scream and yell and say a lot of stuff, and you'll give in to it because you don't want to feel their feelings. You don't want to have to deal with their feelings. So you just give it to them, and then you're really screwed because then it's that much harder the next time you go to the grocery store, right? If you don't have kids, dogs are the same way. If you let the dog on the bed, which I'm in favor of, your dog should be on the bed. But once you let the dog on the dog's on the bed then forevermore. You're never going to get that dog off the bed. Your mind is the same way. Your mind is screaming for the familiar bad feeling place. No, I want to feel like a piece of shit. I'm familiar with that. No, I want to go hang out and swap stories about how terrible everything is. That's what's familiar to me. I love it. It's comfortable. It's like going home. But then when you give into it, it's like, okay, your mind is strengthened then. The habit of that is strengthened then. So just catch it. Start a daily practice where you're checking in with yourself several times a day. Michelle, what are you thinking about right now? And is that getting you closer to having more than enough money in your life, or is it taking you further away? I have another alarm that goes off a few hours later. Michelle, what are you thinking about right now? Are you grinding an axe from the past, or are you aware of what's happening right here, right now? And how does your body feel? Is it relaxed, or is it all tensed up because you've been telling it scary stories? And are you the story? Here's another question you can add to your list. Am I the story, or am I the one aware that I'm telling myself a story? That will shift you. It'll wake you up enough in the moment to go, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I feel the pull. I feel the craving to feel sorry for myself, but I'm not going there. And I'm going to go read a book, or I'm going to do what it takes to give my mind something else to think about. Your mind really doesn't care what it's thinking about. It just has to think. So take charge over what it's thinking about. Give it something else to think about. If you're feeling terrible and shitty and everything is horrible, go read an inspirational book. Just give it some different food. If you can do one thing this week, just for the rest of the week, what's today? Wednesday? Let's say until Monday you give this a shot. That for these few days, you're just going to press pause on whatever your habitual thoughts are, and you're going to meditate for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning in silence. And you're just going to see what happens. If by Monday you notice more. Sometimes this means things hurt a little more because you're aware of how much pain you've been in and haven't let yourself be aware of. And then once you're aware of it, you kind of have to do something with it or slide back into your shitty feeling place, right? So if you're struggling in your upleveling, that's your mind. If you're going through some stuff with this heavy, intense energy, that's your mind. If you're feeling like you're being run through the spin cycle, that's your mind. Your body's going through it just fine. Your body's just trucking along, relaxed or tense, depending on what you tell it. So anytime you catch a struggle, look at what your stories are, listen to what you're telling yourself about it, and tell yourself something different. Do something different. Be a responsible grown-up with your physical body and tell a different story in the moment. Okay, let me know if you have questions. This is going to be recycled or repurposed for the podcast next week. The podcast this week is already posted. Heather is saying in the live chat, I'm so done with my spinning my wheel story. I don't even have wheels. Yes. Yes. The latest story to unravel here is, well, everybody else gets the cool stuff and I don't. I'm not jealous of people when they get cool stuff. Like, I don't wish they didn't have it, but I want it too. I want mine too. Like, I don't want to take theirs away so I can have it. I want the universe to bring me mine too. So I've been saying, like, I want to be the one who experiences miracles. I want to be the one who is in the right place at the right time to get the cool shit. Like, I want that. And when I would hear the follow-up response has been, well, your whole life you've just had to stand on the sidelines and watch everybody else get what they want and be left out and be on the edges and on the fringe, and you're not, it doesn't ever happen for you. That's just not who you are. And I hear all that stuff and I go, yeah, but I want to be that. I want to know what that's like. I just want to issue my dinner order and have it delivered. And my order was, I want that. I want to know what that's like. I want to feel that. I want to have that experience. Corey Michelle says in the class to say, I'll have that. Like you're ordering a salami sandwich at a deli is the example she uses. Oh, I'll have a salami sandwich with, extra, I don't know what comes on the salami sandwich, but extra salami, cheese maybe. And then you just go about your business. You go have some fun. You go entertain yourself while you're waiting for the sandwich guy to deliver. It's no bigger deal than that. It's only our brains that are like, yeah, but the salami sandwich is bad for you, and you shouldn't eat pork, and because pigs are like dogs, and it's too expensive, and the last time you ordered a sandwich, it was a shit sandwich, and blah, 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 blah. You hear all that stuff, and it's okay to hear all that stuff because you will. It's going to happen. And then you just catch yourself in the moment. Okay, all of that's true. And how would it feel to get the perfect sandwich? How would that feel? Let me just imagine and pretend that right now. Let me create the feeling in my body of my dream coming true. And then, of course, we like to whip out our dream smashing hammers and ruin that. So we can say, no, now, today, I let myself dream now. I let myself dream, and then I let myself imagine my dreams coming true. Because nobody's in here but me, and I get to do whatever I want inside my brain. I get to imagine my dreams coming true. I get to imagine half-price, nonstop, beautiful Air France plane trips to Paris. I get to imagine that. I get to want that, desire it, tell myself the truth about it, that I don't know how it's going to happen. And in less than a week, it happened. So easy. So easy when you manage your mind. You don't give the toddler the cookie. Okay, we've heard it all before. And we need constant reminders. And we need that commitment. Just like Heather said, I'm done with my spinning my wheel story. I'm done with that. I am done with letting my mind torment my body. It's not purposeful. Their mind's not doing it to hurt you. But nobody's driving the car. Your mind's supposed to be in the back seat. Your body's supposed to be driving your car. This is the body's journey through life. Human design reference. And the more you let the body make the decisions and imagine whatever you want to imagine and check with your body, does that feel good? Does it feel like everything's opening? Does it feel like a contraction? And if it feels like a contraction, then stop fucking thinking about it. You know that old joke where the guy goes to the doctor and he says, my arm hurts when I do this. And the doctor's like, well, stop doing that. And then there's a Bob Newhart skit off Saturday Night Live on YouTube where the woman's like, but this and but that. He's a therapist. But this and but that. And my whatever and my family and all the things wrong. And he's like, well, Just stop it. Just stop it. Like it's a joke, but it's not. It's powerful. Just stop. There are 500 bazillion things you could do with your energy instead of allowing yourself to feel like crap. Come on now. I don't come on. Come on. Let's get our shit together. We don't even have wheels. We have our own dreams, and they come true in our heads all day long if we let them. And our body doesn't know the difference. And if you do that every day, imagine how good your body's going to feel by Monday. If you let yourself dream and you let yourself imagine your dreams coming true, and you feel that good expansion in your body, and you stay there. And when you hear the dream smashing hammer come out, you just grab your hand and put that back down. Just go, yeah, we're not smashing our dreams today. We're going to do this until Monday. We're not going to smash our dreams today. Monday afternoon, you want to smash a dream, I'll let you do it. But not today. Not today. Play with it. Let me know what happens. I would love to hear if things break loose for you. I'd love to hear if moving through these dense energies is easier for you when you remind your mind everything's fine. We don't have to resist. We can say yes to the tension. We can say yes to the pressure. We can move into the density and transmute it into light. That's how powerful we are. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And just know if you go to, when the podcast comes out next, not this Friday, but next Friday, it's episode 35. Your mind is delaying your up level. So you don't have to listen to it again unless you want to. And thank you for being here. And thank you for listening to the podcast. Those of you who do, I looked at the stats last night and it's approaching 2,100. 2,100 downloads. That made me happy. Okay, think less, feel more. Check out the website for all the stuff coming up. July is packed and loaded with stuff. Live Forest Reiki classes, Welcoming the Crone through Self-Portraiture, Sovereign Storytellers is open for enrollment. It says July 1st, but if you want to enroll, you go right ahead. And then the Human Design Basics for Business is open for enrollment now. Okay. Again, think less, feel more. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for being here.